this episode of Meet Me in Moncton, I'm going to introduce you to a long-term, very dear friend of mine. He is in Moncton via Bangalore, India. He's a financial advisor at SunLife, and he is one of the most interesting, fun people you're ever going to meet in Moncton. Come on in, Khaleel Urrahman! Have a seat. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to my set, Khaleel.
Yeah, no, this is a little intimidating, actually.
Remember when we were friends and I didn't have a set before?
We'll still be friends.
Remember the old days when I didn't have a set in a show? Joking. We've been friends a long time, but I actually want to start before that.
Can I tell them how we met?
Yeah, go ahead, take it away.
So I moved to
You
Moncton.
interview me. It's your show now.
I moved to Moncton, went to a Halloween party. Met this lady that I thought was a great connection. Loved her. And the next morning, and she was dressed up as Cruella de Vil. So next morning I'm thinking, oh, you know what, I'm new in town, I'm trying to make connections, so I need to find this lady on Facebook. And I just realized, I don't know what she looks like. So I had to go through the people that hosted the party to find out who that was, and then I found her that way.
Found your way to me. Oh my gosh, you know what? When we post the show online, I'll post a photo and you could not recognize me for sure. It's like full wig, full makeup, the whole ordeal. And you were dressed like a cowboy.
I can't remember really.
Yeah, I remember. Mm-hmm. You were a cowboy. So I believe that would have been in like 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
we go back. So I want to go back before that. What year did you move to Moncton?
2010 December.
Okay.
So I think we met like a couple of weeks in.
Okay, very well.
country,
No,
yeah.
December is Christmas, and then it's like
Oh yeah, so no, it
October.
wasn't. Sorry,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. Just wanted to clarify for anyone that was. But you know, you did a lot of partying that first year. I mean, it's fine. Time slips away. Right?
It was about meeting people.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you came to Moncton from where?
I came to Moncton from the Philippines. So I was living in Manila for about 3 years. I was working for a financial service company. That was a Canadian company based in, my job was based in Manila. So it was only 18 million people in that city. So, you know, it takes you an hour and 15 minutes to get to a work which is only 12 kilometers away. Woo! So my first job in Moncton, same distance, took me 7 minutes. I said, this is it, not going anywhere else.
Never leaving. Way to sell it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was there for 3 years, but before that I was in New Zealand, Auckland for a year. I was doing my postgrad. And before that was Bangalore, India.
Where you were raised.
Yeah, I was. I'm from a small town called Mangalore, which is close to the Arabian Sea. But my professional life was in Bangalore, which is only 13 million people.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I was just going backwards there.
Okay, so you're in Moncton because of the short commute.
Yes.
And any other things? Any other things you like?
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with Moncton because of the people, right? It was everywhere you go, you meet nice people.
Right.
For the most part, I'm actually yet to come across people that I don't like.
Wow.
So, you know, it's
Wow.
it's a pretty...
You'd also be a great realtor on my team.
I think Exit Realty did approach me one time.
Of course they did. Yeah.
Real
yeah,
estate
yeah.
is not my jam.
No. Okay, but what is your jam, Khaleel?
My jam is people, actually. So, I mean, I ended up in the money world because I went to university for commerce and 2 degrees later and whatever. But at the end of the day, I think the connection is people. Okay. So right now, my role is like, it's almost problem solving, right?
Right.
Sometimes you can tell the future by looking at your present, what you can do for the future. So it's very cool. I find it's pretty cool. It's like you can use the tools to answer questions that might happen 20 years later.
Right.
I find that very, very, very interesting.
Okay.
Like everybody's situation is different and there are no standard formulas. Love that.
When do you think somebody should be, like, at what point in their life should somebody be talking to a financial advisor?
18? Like, as soon as they start making money, they should be talking to an advisor.
First job.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
First few years are the most crucial
Okay,
ones.
Jack and George will be over next summer, next summer with their summer jobs.
That's when you learn the habits, right? The first few years. And if you learn the right habits, you're set for life.
So what do you say to somebody who thinks that they're starting too late?
That it's not too late. There's still, like, when you look at a trajectory, it's still long term. We can try and make up, like, buy some time.
Right.
But sometimes it starts with, okay, focus. Right? We'll write your objective and then work backwards.
Okay.
So it's all right if somebody's late. It's all right. There's ways.
So, because we've been friends for so long, I've drug you on a few adventures. I've drug you on a few adventures and a few stages, and we've had the opportunity to speak together a couple of times. And I think one of my favorite moments in our friendship was when we spoke at Act One together.
I remember the moment you're talking about. There was a photo of me speaking, and you were in the background. It was in blur, but you were there. It was cool.
I'll also put that in the show notes. It was, oh my gosh, was it your first time public speaking?
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh my God, I was so proud of you. But what we did that day, we had a really unique opportunity. And as I shared at the beginning of the show tonight, I care a lot about belonging, and I care a lot about creating a community that people want to stay in. I care about that a lot, more than I talk about even. And we had this really unique opportunity to share with this audience, quite a large audience, what it's like to be new to Moncton.
Yeah.
And some of the challenges of being new to a community. And I remember everything you said. I don't know if you do.
I don't.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Actually, I don't.
But what I'm going to ask you to do is recite your keynote right now. No, I'm just kidding. But we talked about some of the challenges of being new to a community and how hard that can be. And I was wondering if anything kind of jumps out that you'd like to share with our audience to help them understand what it feels like.
I think it's like understanding people's way. When somebody says, like, oh yeah, let's do something, for example, that still is my biggest thing. I was so disappointed in the beginning when people say, let's grab a coffee, but then in my head it was an invitation for a coffee. But that's not really the way. It's a social etiquette thing to say. It's not really a coffee. Call me later and then we'll book.
So you thought it was an appointment versus
Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, somebody's going to text me about this, right? No. Yeah. And you quickly realize, as a new person, you have to try harder to build your network.
I have heard that from other people as well. I've heard that exact story from other people coming from, like, somebody from France and a couple other friends coming from other parts of the world who have said that very same thing. That there's a very casual, let's get together, let's have dinner, let's go for coffee, and then you never hear from the person again.
Yeah.
And it really hit home how often I have probably said that and not followed up, right?
But honestly, like, I'm doing that now, so. I guess I'm fully integrated.
Yeah, 13 years. 13 years of rejection, and now you're dropping it. I got it.
Fully integrated, yes.
But when you're first here, like, I'm sure, what were the stories you were believing at that time? Like, what did you think when that would happen?
I mean, there were so many times you just go in there and you get questions and you feel like, why is everybody asking questions? But it's hard to remember that, okay, this is not like the large cities I come from. There's, at least 13 years ago, it wasn't as diverse as it is today. So when you're getting the questions, sometimes you feel like you're in the zoo. Do you know what I mean? But it's to remember, you have to answer the questions, because also as an immigrant, I have to put my best foot forward, because I'm probably representing a lot of newcomers, even though, somebody could be from Nigeria, could be somebody from wherever, but not like Ireland or anything, but but like, like when somebody's meeting someone from another country, from outside their culture, it's hard to distinguish that there's individuality.
Right.
Everybody's an immigrant.
Especially if someone has limited experience, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So there's a responsibility. Though you have to remember each time, even though it feels like you're in the zoo and people are looking at you and asking questions, and the amount of attention you get is quite a lot.
And you don't like attention.
No. Hence I'm
Well, one of the things that you taught me that I didn't realize that I was doing, I remember we were at your house one night, and we might have been having a couple of drinks around the island, and and I was talking about, I think I was talking about a Michael Jackson song, and and I was like, you know, it's such and such, and you're like, no, I've never heard it, and I remember being like, what? You've never heard like that Michael Jackson song? And you just looked at me. And, you know, I mean, so obnoxious of me looking back, but it's amazing when you're in your own culture and you've experienced certain things, like, and you're so familiar with it, how easy it is to forget that someone hasn't had the same experiences. And I'll never forget the look on your face that night when I was, you know, so insensitive in that way. But you really got me thinking about all of the things that we can think are universal that are not, right? And yeah, I'm just really grateful for that lesson.
Yeah, there's stuff like that for me too. It's not one way, right? It's both ways. There's times when we went to university, or actually 5th grade, we had to draw the map of 15 different countries and identify the capitals and whatever, right? But not necessarily the same here. So sometimes I'll start talking about where I've been, and I expect people to follow, especially like the cities and types of foods or what's close to them, or like, okay, if you're talking about North Africa, for example, what's close by and whatever. You just take it for granted that it's not the same way for everybody.
Right.
Right? So it's two ways too. And pop culture is another one. Sometimes words come out and you realize, oh, okay, maybe they don't know.
Like what?
So like gyan, for example, right? Like it comes out every now and then.
What is it?
Gyan. Like gyan in Hindi it's like preaching, right?
Meherbani.
But it's like the word
said
comes
thank
out.
you. I just said thank you in Hindi.
She's showing
Everybody.
off that. But it's like, you know, it becomes part of your language, and you realize, why isn't someone else responding to it?
Right.
Forgetting that it's a word that I've just inserted it from another language.
Right.
So lots of stuff you get caught in the. As long as we respect each other, it's all brilliant. It's good.
Yeah, and we learn together,
Yep.
and we grow together.
Yeah.
All right. So, Khaleel, what is a local purchase in Moncton that you have made in the last 6 months that makes your life better?
I was at the Pride grounds the other day, and there was a lady that was selling bracelets, and it was like simple stuff, but right in the middle has the rainbow colors in a stone. It was $10. It wasn't like life-changing amount.
Yeah.
But you wear it, and I feel like, you know what? I can make a statement without making a statement.
I love it.
I love it. It just happened 2 weeks ago.
Any chance you know the name of her business?
I do not. Unfortunately, I do not.
Okay, if anybody knows
I was walking around, I went straight to that booth. And
yeah, because it stood out so much.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was because it also was, it wasn't just that. It also, the way it was designed, like in India, like in the Hindu mythology, there's, not mythology, religious beliefs, Lord Shiva has a third eye.
Right.
Right? It was also a representation of something like that. It was, and in the Turkish, North African culture, there's that evil eye thing. So it kind of all came together in that one moment.
Wow.
So I was drawn to it because of it.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I cannot wait to see it.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay, so you brought up Pride. Can we talk about the adventures that you took my family on in the Pride Parade?
Yeah, it was really quite quite amazing. Because like for me to have friends, their children, and it was also the first time I walked on the parade myself.
Right. So this would have been like, let's think,
2015, maybe 2016.
So your first Pride, being in the Pride Parade.
Yeah.
And so my kids would have been in grade 1, maybe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just me and my kids.
No, it was.
So
and we
Woodman's
had
and their
yep.
kids. Like there was a lot of people who
Yeah.
came to be with you in your first Pride.
Yeah. And the year after, one of my friends bought me one of those pair of wings. That was all like rainbow wings. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll pull this off, right? One of the kids absolutely wanted my wings. And I'm thinking, oh, am I going to give up my wings? This kid? Mom, come talk to the kid. But it wasn't really,
it wasn't my kids.
No, it was not.
It wasn't. I would have got those wings for you, Khaleel. It was your special day. Oh my gosh.
Now, it was a really nice thing because you feel like you belong. First of all, like you feel like you belong and your friends are right, beside you, and you just feel strong together.
And I gotta say, you've been such an important influence, especially when the kids were little. We were spending a lot more time together since the pandemic. We're busy, But when the kids were little, you were such an important influence on them. And I'm so proud of their character and the allies that they remain as like young men. And I know that you and Dave have had such an important part of that. And I'm so grateful.
And I get like these like iPhone memories. And so all the selfies we took and stuff. And it feels like a million years ago. It was not.
Yeah.
And now the boys are like, they're not little boys anymore.
They're not little boys anymore. Oh my gosh. They are not. No, they're not. They're young men, but they're allies, and they're, I know that those formative memories were essential, and we didn't know we were doing that then, right?
Yeah.
We were just showing up.
Yep, exactly.
And
exactly.
things like that shape who you are for the long term.
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful.
Hopefully when they speak of us, even when they are 7 years old, that they still think of us in the most, loving memory, right?
Well, you'll always be Khalilo.
Yes, exactly.
The cute Khalilo. The kids always called Khalilo and Dave. And Dave, and you would come to their concerts. I mean, you guys are just incredible friends and family to us. So.
And then pandemic happened, and I'm still living like we're in the pandemic. Same bubble.
I keep trying to pull him out, and he's like, but I have a dog now.
Yes.
I'm a dad.
Yeah, all the decisions are pegged on where the dog is, what the dog is doing.
Yeah, and the videos of the dog and the picture of the dog. You wouldn't leave that dog home if your house was for sale, that's for sure.
Absolutely not.
So Khaleel, you've shown up for Moncton in so many amazing ways. I could talk forever, but another special memory for me was the time that you brought us to Diwali.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. Yes, I just remembered. One of our sons ate green chili for the first time.
But he was like 6.
Oh, it was like... And you don't think of it, right? Like, because this is your world. And the kids back home eat spicy stuff. Like, nobody thinks of that as spicy. It's food. This is what it tastes like.
So we got to set the context. So it was the most amazing celebration. And there were a lot of kids there, but a lot of Indian kids there, and then my kids. And there was a lot of dancing, and there was all kinds of wonderful things going on. But the food, my boys like to eat, and the food just kept getting later and later. So they were so hungry. So by the time the food came out, and you gotta for context, George won't drink pop because it's too much. Like it's too much for his palate. So the food comes out, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh. and we make him the most conservative plate we can, and I just look over across the room, and there he is with tears pouring down his face.
couldn't get the words out.
No. No, it was. I have a picture. It's also going in the show notes. We got a lot of memories to share. Oh my gosh, it was such a funny, fun experience. We went to McDonald's on the way home.
So just so you know, that little group that we had, it's now multiplied like times 10.
Right. So that was the
Indo-Canadian Association.
Canadian Association of Moncton.
Yeah.
So actually, can you talk? Are you still involved?
Yep, I am actually. Last year, the Diwali party happened at the Colosseum. It was massive. I was the MC along with one of the ladies who happens to be from my hometown who lives here now. So we're now like the pair that we do all kinds of events together.
Very cool.
But it was spectacular. Everybody was dressed up and we were on the stage and it felt like I was looking at India from an aerial view. Oh. Different states, different clothing, But if you say like chants, for example, everybody was unified. Like, it was magical.
Wow.
Yeah, and now we've got like subsects of different, like Kerala, for example, is the one state. We just had a celebration for Onam, which is a harvest festival for South Indians. And that was at the Riverview Arts, I think it was Riverview High School, right?
Yeah, the Riverview Arts and Culture Center.
It was packed, and there were performances, and I mean, the food was unbelievable. 23 courses in like one little. So next year, if you see it online, go.
And that was one of the things that I was so I didn't know that my family could go to Diwali until you invited me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that people don't know that they're welcome to come to this celebration.
And this is the responsibility we all have, right? If we have to be the bridge between us and the community, it's not just one way; it's both ways. So if I don't bring you and my friends into my little community, you don't know for sure. First of all, you don't know it exists. Second is, now you know you're welcome, right? You can ask questions, and it's same thing. It's the opposite too. So you have the responsibility to integrate people that are coming in, and there are a lot of us coming in.
And you're staying.
Yeah.
It's the commute. They're all staying.
Yep, it is. It's exactly that. And the ones who have gone back to Toronto, they're all back in New Brunswick because they can't stand the traffic anymore. They don't want the big city problems.
Amazing.
And it's nicer to raise children here.
Yeah.
And now we've got 6 restaurants and 8 grocery stores.
Woo!
We're good. We're set.
Okay, so it is question time. Audience questions for Khaleel. Well, you know this lady.
Happy to see you. Hi.
My question is, speaking of food, as an immigrant, moving to the east coast of Canada, what is something that you tried that you really, really thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe these people eat this, and what to do?
Oh, God. Because I have to say the truth, right?
Yeah. The truth. He's going to cry.
No, the first one was, you said the worst and the best, right? The absolute first food that I was like, was fish cakes.
Huh?
Fish cake.
Fish cakes.
It was so salty. I almost felt like somebody forgot to put the fish in the water and just tasted. It was really salty. There was nothing else. It was salt, more salt, and pepper. That's it. There was no other spice, no nothing. And I thought, oh, I don't know how people eat this stuff. But my mother-in-law was cooking every night for us, and that was the only thing for 6 months. The first thing that I didn't like was that. So I tried.
And then what happened after 6 months? What was the second thing you didn't like?
Well, she had one of those jars of, it's that thing you get in Costco. What's it called? Herring. Herring?
Jarred
Jarred
of herring?
Yeah, it's not good. But poutine, on the other hand.
Rape?
No, like regular poutine.
Like Tammy poutine,
Yep.
weak poutine?
Yep. The first time I discovered poutine, I had poutine for lunch for 8 days straight. I think I even have my days counted. I'm pretty sure it was 2 weeks. But I couldn't wait for my break so I could run to the little stall. It was outside of the Sitel Edinburgh Drive.
Where
There,
were you
there was
going?
there was a guy that only had hamburg steak, hamburg sandwich. We put all the gravy on top of
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and then the poutine.
Okay.
It was sick.
Was it like a food truck?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And I was just like, bring it to the
Like,
oven.
who's this guy every day? Yeah.
And he would like close at 1:30, so I'd like run to his.
Okay, so you were on the edge of your seat when Tammy was talking about Poutine Week.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna ask you a question actually. Why wouldn't everybody be wanting to be part of it? Like,
Why wouldn't every restaurant?
Yeah.
That's my question.
okay.
Do we have another question for Khaleel? Let's get a couple more questions for Khaleel. Oh, microphone.
Other than the short commute, what's your favorite thing about it?
I think the feeling of community. Like when I get up and I go out in the city and I look around and I feel like these are my people. Everybody that looks like me and not, they all feel like my people. That's what I love about Moncton, that I belong with.
I have a question for you. You mentioned, and we all know there's so many newcomers coming into Moncton. Can you give us a pointer, us that live here? How can we help you guys feel welcome?
I think like start with a smile. Honestly, that's where it'll all start. If you're at the grocery store and you feel that somebody feels like a new immigrant, they might not be. They could be second generation, whatever, right? But just smile. That opens up the bridge. I'd start there. Absolutely. And then small talk is always, and that's where it all starts. It's just that one connection. And the next thing you know, you have a whole community to get into.
I have a question. Again.
Oh, more questions?
I just have another one. You talk about connection community and you look around and you say, these are my people. And you're very humble about your success in your career at SunLife. But I mean, Khaleel's absolutely top of his class, national level awards. He couldn't do any better. But I want to talk about where you got that job and how that happened, because I think people take moments like that for granted. So do you want to share that story?
It was a bit of a process. So when I came to Canada, in my head, I was thinking, okay, I've got 2 finance degrees, I speak 5 languages, I'm going to be a rock star. Especially in a smaller city, right? Because then you'd be like, you're a commodity in demand. Only to realize 13 years ago, there was no demand for that at all. So it was, I'm going to say, job applications, even that process. If you're in a big city, the way you hunt for a job is all digital. You go online, you look for listings, you apply for a job and whatever, right? But you come to a smaller city, it's the opposite. Less digital, more networking, more meeting people, more connections, more coffees, more asking for help, right? I didn't know any of that stuff back in the day, so it took me a good 6 months to realize whatever I was doing was wrong. And then the companies that I was approaching, they were giving me answers like, you don't have Canadian experience. So in my head, I'm thinking, so which is it? Like, first you get the job or you come up with the experience? So it's quite discouraging. So lots of resumes, lots of cover letters, 80% of the time you don't hear back. And then after 6 months, I decided I'm just going to reset my career. New country, new start. So I set my ego aside and applied for a call center job, asking to answer the phone calls for Bell at Sitel. And 3 weeks into the job, there was training. I met somebody in Manila a couple of years ago who happens to be from Moncton. And we were kind to her. We had hosted Canadian Thanksgiving, and she never forgot that. But, you know, like when you're living in a large city, you meet people left, right, and center, and it's something you do. moved here, that lady working in my company, and she saw me and she said, "What are you doing here?" And I thought, I live here now. And so she goes and puts in a word with the site director and says, "You've got a wrong person on the phone. You need something else." And then another job came up. So I did maybe got 2 promotions, and then I was still thinking I need to get back to finance, right? And then I was going through interviews with the company, investors group, I think, at the time, and I was still not 100% sure. And then, of course, Natalie invited me to one of her Christmas parties. Now, it's not, I've met her in 2 parties and made big connections. This gentleman that was, he was a regional VP for SunLife. He was at the party. I wasn't even talking to him. I was talking to his wife because she's a twin, I'm a twin. There were a whole bunch of twin connections happening, and that's how we got connected. And then I found myself a mentor in this community and the country. And
A few months later,
a
that
few
was
months
your new
later,
boss.
that was it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was something.
And I think people take those little moments together for granted. And sometimes you don't think, oh, I don't feel like going out tonight, or I don't whatever, and you don't realize that moment in your friend's kitchen could be.
And this is going back to your question. It was just that, I'm telling you, it was maybe at 10 seconds. I said hello, and he said, "You know what, we're drinking tonight, so text me tomorrow." That was it. I didn't talk to him for the entire evening. I texted him the next day, there was a response, and I thought, because if he had said to me, "Call me," I would have never called, because I was already jaded, and I figured, if he's going to say no, I'd rather take it on text. It's less personal. Yeah. And the response came in, and I thought, oh my God, he's actually interested. So
Amazing.
Here we are.
Here we
9
are.
years later.
Here we are. Any other questions before we wrap up with Khaleel? All right. You guys love him or what? Thank you, Khaleel. Now that we've met in Moncton, let's get to know each other a little bit better. You can join us and our crew and our guests at our exclusive Facebook community. Just go to Facebook and search Meet Me in Moncton Insiders.